Hello, ladies and gentle friends. Give me one quick sec. This is Greg Bryant once again. As if you don't know, traffic. Anyway, this is Greg Bryant, and with Demonosophy and Beyond, and I'm here to give you my initial impression on a very popular book, the Hekateon. And the author of this book is Grayle. Let's see. Yes. And this book, first of all, it's very hard to get your hands on. You either have to know somebody or have some bread on you. And for me, I had to spend a little change on that. But I'm not angry. Because this book is very, very popular. And, well, I mean, I would do most anything for Hekate. So I asked Hekate to help me get my hands on this book. And I had to sacrifice some bread for it. But, you know, when she gives me the opportunity, you gotta take it, right? But aside from that, let's talk about the book. What's inside it. I'm not really going to talk about the outside of the book. It really doesn't matter because I know that inside there's some good stuff. Because both people inside and outside of Primal Craft have only good things to say about it. And I know that people in Primal Craft are very picky about, you know, a lot of them are very picky about what they consume pertaining to Hekate when it comes to grimoires. So from what I've read from the synopsis about this book, it seems that this is focusing on both kind of like the Greek aspect. Well, I wouldn't say aspect. It focuses on Hekate as a titan. But in the book, it talks about how the fact that she is not native to the Greek pantheon. It calls her a 4th generation titan and, you know, says that she was kind of like just there. It also goes to explain that Zeus gave her jurisdiction over parts of the sky, the sea, and the earth. And I have something to say about that. I don't really think that Zeus gave it to her. One, I don't think that the gods messed with her because I don't think they could. Two, excuse me, I'm melting here. It's a little warm. Two, another reason why I think like they didn't mess with her is probably because she didn't want any parts in their like little familial battles. Because if she's not part of that pantheon, the gods had beef with the Titans, which were like their parents. Specifically Kronos. And as us witches do, we usually have nothing to do with anything. We're mostly to ourselves doing our own thing. So while this was going on, Hekate probably really didn't care. And that's why, you know, they were just like, all right, let her be. Let her do what she wants to do. The book starts out with 9 rites that you have to do. You start 8 days before the new moon, and the last is going to be during the new moon. And I'll say that it's good to read the book beforehand. in order to prepare for these rites, because you're going to need some things that might be hard to acquire on short notice, such as a U branch. You might have to order that online if you don't have access to a nursery that sells U plants. From what it looks like, I think this is going to focus on the earthly aspect, especially the underworld part of Hekate. As most of you might know, the yew tree is associated with death. I believe it was in the Norse pantheon where Odin was hung from a yew tree. Don't quote me on that because I don't follow that pantheon, but I believe that is what I heard. But I know that the yew tree is associated with death. I've been looking at these rites, and it seems that they start with guided meditations, and these guided meditations also require for you to know who you are and whether you choose to work with Hekate or not. You have to know yourself, because it's going to ask you the question of, what do you want out of this relationship with Hekate? And it's going to there's one rite where if you're not ready to call upon Hekate, you exclude some words out of the hymn to her, because it says that she hears when you call upon her every single time, whether or not you know she's there, whether or not you sense she's there. She's going to come when called. Another thing that I like about this book is that it talks about opening all of your senses. Some people think that if you don't see something, or if you don't hear something, if a spirit does not appear to you in physical form, you're doing something wrong. But in the book, it explains that people sense entities in different ways. One of the rites is about awakening all five senses: your sense of taste, your sense of touch, your sense of hearing, your eyesight, your sense of smell, because this is how we register our contact with the spirits. And so I really appreciated that. And it's one of those things where a lot of people feel like when they read in a grimoire that maybe the author sees these spirits all the time and, has conversations with these spirits. Okay, maybe that's that person's specialty, maybe that's their forte. Maybe they're that sensitive to see these beings and, talk with these beings as if they're talking face to face with another human being. But that doesn't necessarily make you a bad practitioner if this doesn't happen for you. For me, for example, I feel the energies. I know when the presence is there. And, you get these impressions of what they want. Sometimes you get visions, sometimes you'll hear something, but a lot of times you have to work at it, and you have to do the work on a regular basis and be very, very connected with the entity you're trying to communicate with. And that takes time. So I was very happy when this book talked about, exercising your five senses. I think this is going to be a very enjoyable book. I find myself, preparing. And if I'm preparing for it, I'm serious about it, getting the stuff. Another thing about the rights is that they are to be in order and they add upon each other. The first right starts simple, and then the second right will be similar to the first in the sense that what you do in the first right is going to be the first step of the second, and then it continues to build on one another until it gets more complex. So be ready for that. When it talks about the sigil that must be used in the rites, I've already begun to make 9 sigils because, excuse me, in the rites, the sigil is always required, and you do the same thing, but you also add something new. So far, you're going to need like 3 white candles, and you don't start off using all 3, but you add. So, I usually don't read grimoires before working through them. I like to work through them as I read through them. But in this case, it required some change, and I recommend those who are planning on getting this, if you can find a copy, because the second print is out. And I think I've seen this book on eBay. The lowest is going to be like $700 something. But if they ever have a third printing, or if you know somebody who's willing to sell it for less, definitely get your hands on it, and definitely do your research. And by research, I mean read the book first and be prepared to answer some hard questions about yourself or know yourself, and just be prepared. So, with that said, that's all I've got so far. I plan on reading more. I plan on working through this. And of course, with me being a child of Hekate, and by child I mean she's taken me under her wing, I will definitely be reporting on this and talking about this more. So look forward to it. And remember, what I say is just my experience. Everybody's experience is going to be unique. So I encourage you to do the experimentation, do the work, and have fun. Take care, guys.